Good morning, YouTube. It's Sonia. I hope you're all well. This is the follow-up part to the Kim interview Olivia did that she since took down the video of. This channel is the Drunk Turkey Show, okay? Drunk Turkey Show. They actually, when I woke up this morning, they'd done a video last night covering all the drama surrounding Kim on Olivia's channel. And they did share some further insight, none of which made what Kim had to say any clearer, but the main guy, I think he's called Daniel. They've not got the names on the screen. I think he's called Daniel J. He goes on to tell us that when Kim did that interview with Olivia, it was about speculation rather than stating the facts of what she believed to be true that she'd learned from her daughter and son. All right. So he said, I didn't know that she went on Olivia's panel and started with the speculation, mixed all the speculation in with it. But the initial account with Olivia by Kim includes speculation. It doesn't include, it's not just solely consisting of a factual account of what happened, okay? First, it's not even, how many people in between, how much hearsay is involved in her daughter's account to Kim? Because Kim says, and you're going to hear her in a minute, just say early on here, if I'm wrong, something like, I hope I'm not wrong, or if I don't mean any offence to anybody, and if I am wrong, then I'm sorry, but we all have to speak up if we know that things are wrong. It's kind of like the Prince Harry thing, if you've been following that story. People will allude to things being wrong, or something's wrong, but they won't give you a hint or a clue as to what or where to look. They just keep insinuating things, hinting at things, and you don't have no clue what where they want you to go with that. It's not clear. So anyway, we're going to listen to this. The lady at the bottom is Lana. I can't remember the gentleman's name in the top left. Lana has her own channel, Truth and Transparency. If you're familiar with her, you will know there's a whole great big backstory surrounding her, regarding her, going back to the Chris Watts case and was it the 51C, the 501C? Was she trying to get Chris Watts a new trial, a retrial? I have no idea. Something anyway. Okay, she was involved with the Watts family. And she was on the side of the Watts. As far as I understood it, there was a whole load of fuckery and drama that ensued. I think her partner in that, or at some point, her co-host, Jay for Justice, I think she's got, I think there's some court action going on between the two. And then there's the whole Unmasked, the lady behind the Unmasked channel. I think there's a couple of them actually, but I think it's Vanessa. There's a whole backstory there regarding Lana. I don't know all the details of that. I just, know it as background drama to these people or characters on YouTube. Well, the lady from Unmasked, I believe, ended up taking a restraining order out because she found Lana to be obsessive, and I believe there was stalking and other things going on. Maybe it was a back and forth. I don't even know the details. It's none of my business anyway. But this is the backstory. I don't know Daniel from Adam. I don't know the gentleman in the top left. But what I did notice to be strange was, as they close off this interview, Kim thinks they're off air. All right. She thinks they're off air. Lana drops out and he's closing the show, and Kim's still on panel and he's saying bye to everybody. And there's a point where she thinks they're off air. So she goes, hey. And he goes, it's not gone. We're not off or something, right? One word, you can't know everything. But the way she spoke to him when she thought she was off air was very personable. Okay? It was a hey you'd give somebody that you are kind of seeing. That's the kind of hey it was, all right? And his response to that, we're not off air, we're not off air. And the slip-ups that are made during this stream, which you will have to go and watch yourself, because I recorded, I think it's 45 minutes, 43 minutes, right? And I just cut to the part where Kim comes on panel, just before she comes on panel. And if I do a reaction to this whole 45 minutes, it's going to double the time of the video. And I don't know if people like the longer videos or prefer the shorter ones. I obviously don't want it to go on too long. There's not much to talk about once I've covered it in the first one. I've let you know how and why I think the way I do about Kim. I am not saying that it isn't probable that she can have a daughter or a child in Washington State University or Idaho, the University of Idaho. She mixes me up because she puts the universities together as though they're one. So forgive me for getting slightly confused yesterday. I know I referred to in the other video the kids as teenagers. I know they're not teenagers. I think I'm bloody confusing myself referring to them as kids instead of young adults, and then I'm referencing them as teenagers in the house. So apologies about that. I did put a note in the description. But back to this, right? There's not much more I can say because I've let you know what I think of Kim. And while there is a possibility that she is a mum and she does have a kid at this school, I don't believe these kinds of stories. There still is a high chance, well, a probable chance, this lady is just inserting herself for the reasons I said in the earlier video. She's manipulative. She wants some glory, attention. Only she knows why she's doing it. I can only guess. But her account of how she said things are, there were guys in the house, right? There was one guy outside watching. They all knew these people were there. After they knew these people were there, they ran to their rooms and hid, right? She said they were hiding. They locked their doors. They were like, so how, if they've all locked themselves in their rooms, how did they know when to come out to move the drugs? Who were they moving the drugs for? Because I don't know how to, I can't correlate her story. Were those guys there? Is this what she meant? Because Olivia never asked any relevant questions. Were those three guys there and one outside to what? To come and get the drugs that they'd been stashing at this house, right? Because there are rumours fueled all over that this was a drug house. Oh, people say it's a drug house. People say it's a drug house. But rumours are rumours, and rumours do grow. I mean, there could have been a couple of parties there where a couple of kids took some speed, and now it has the notoriety of being a drug house, okay? They don't look like your typical stereotypical addicts, okay? They were functioning, whether they were on something or off something. Clearly they were functioning. They were passing their classes. I think Kaylee was a year ahead. They were doing well. They were successful. As far as I know, they all worked. They were involved in sports, okay? So any recreational drug use at a weekend or at a party, does that denote to you that that would be a drug house? Is that what you would consider a drug house? Because, and these rumours can affect how things are going to be spoken about in court, because the defence or whoever is going to be able to say, well, this house is notoriously known for being a drug house. Everybody's talking about it being a drug house. Well, can anybody give a first-hand account of what they mean by that? They don't need to come on camera. They don't even need to give the names. They can just say, I attended a party there. I saw a stash of crack, whack and smack. There was just like pounds of it, kilos of it. It was full of it. Because when Kim is telling us about these three guys, or two guys inside and one out, and everybody ran to their rooms and hid, he's backing up her story in his video from last night, which I'll try and squeeze in at some point into this. He's backing up her story, okay? Kim's legitimate. And then he goes on to say, let me share with you, or let me tell you some things about Kim. And he goes on to show us articles of crimes that have occurred either in Washington State or roundabout Idaho, of people being killed, murdered, accidents. But that doesn't mean that all the university staff and the police are all involved in covering these things up. How can they have been covering them up when they're in the articles, when they're in published media sources? They've been covered. Surely if they were being covered up, right? And hidden, and there's a big conspiracy, and it's bigger than we all know. Well, would there be accurate articles about it? Would they have put it in, would they have not gone so far as to silence the media or to silence the story or to keep it under wraps? They're doing a pretty crap job if they're trying to cover things up, aren't they? I just want people to think. I don't like people being manipulated. I don't like how all this emotion is. Like, if you listen to people, this is how you'll get a good read on people. If people are telling you stories and accounts of things, and it's in a hyper emotional way, in the way of Molly Golightly or Bullhorn Betty or any of those types of characters, if they're telling you if they're telling you a story that's already emotional and tragic, and they're hyped up and emotional while they're telling you that story, that's telling you something about them. Okay? And that hyper emotion that they project outward isn't necessarily anything to do with empathy or any genuine feelings towards the horrificness of the crime that they're covering, if you're following. Okay? They act melodramatic and histrionic while they're relaying these stories of crimes, and the problem is it's catching. It's kind of contagious. Okay? And you will notice it is contagious. We, as human beings, we do have this thing where we mirror other behavior around us, and they've even done studies of it in crowds and things like that, right? But you watch people in a chat, if one starts, often there's a domino effect and others start. All right, say, like, because I've witnessed people going into Molly Golightly streams, and they'll seem to be in there as calm as the day is long. All right, and she will start telling them something, and they will have an opinion that opposes or critiques the story that she's telling. Okay, she will shout at them and humiliate them, right? Shame them in front of the whole chat. And then after that, there's usually an influx of people mirroring the behavior she wants to see. Like, oh yeah, Molly, you're so right. Molly, you're so right. And then more will do it, and more will do it, and then more will super chat, and then someone else will super chat. And then they'll start scolding the person that had an opposing opinion when it was nothing offensive. It was just an opposing opinion. Okay, watch out for it in chats. Emotion that I notice online, it's contagious. If you've got an emotional host, right, she will, or he will, fill up their chat. They will like pass that emotion on and stir everybody else up in the chat. And that's the problem. While it is true crime and these stories are tragedies, you would be human to feel emotion while listening to these stories. Okay, that would just be human. However, histrionic emotions, right, and all this hyper emotional acting, because it's just like acting. Okay, I think they call them bad actors. It's over the top, and it's done possibly not consciously, but when everybody's in their emotional thinking, they're not thinking logically, they're not being reasonable, they're not being calm, they're not using the coping skills, because they're just being histrionic. And there's like I don't know, there's just like an abundance of all this emotion. And when they're saying the crazy things they're saying or insinuating, like Kim, where people are saying like there's no problem with this speculation, there's no problem with it, it feeds and it passes on from one person to the next, from one crowd to the next, and it just continues to grow. And people want to get more bolder than the person next to them, right? So they'll begin to say more extreme things, and then there's like a competition who can be the most cutting and cruel and obnoxious and call it, well, I'm just being objective. I'm just being objective. But this energy and this emotion and these thinking, these ideas of thinking, where they're assigning guilt to people innocent, like the victims of this crime, the Idaho 4, it stirs people up. When you are emotional, try and sit still and do nothing, right? When you're super angry, try and sit still and do nothing. Just sit there. Just sit, right? Still. When you're super emotional or angry or whatever about something on the internet, okay, or in real life, try and sit there and do nothing. It's so hard to do nothing when you're wound up, or when you're angry or pissed off or upset or annoyed or frustrated. It's so hard to do nothing, okay? So people will type angry words on super chats. People will hit the super chat. People will go over to people's social media and leave cruel comments, like the victims or the surviving victim of this crime, Bethany and Dylan. And it pushes all that hate in that direction, because that's who it's aimed to. What were you doing in those missing 8 hours? What were you doing? And for me, Kim, she is pretty unclear when she says in the review I did yesterday, because she says at some point, I want to believe none of them did anything wrong. None of them, right? She says Dylan and Bethany first. I want to believe Dylan and Bethany didn't do anything wrong. None of them, okay? And then she finishes that sentence with, I don't know if I believe that. Because I couldn't tell yesterday who was she meaning, those two, but as if you just follow her sentence and listen to the specific words said, she says Dylan and Bethany, and then she says the other people in the house. She references everybody else. I don't know if I believe it, meaning she doesn't know if they were doing anything wrong. Okay, so, and she's supposed to be coming out as this credible witness. He's vetted her and put her on for the public to listen to. I would swear, I don't know what I can swear on, but I would swear that him and Kim, him in the top right, him and Kim have a little bit of something either in the works, or there's something already going on between the two, because they were very, even though it was just a hey, it was very affectionate and personal. All right, it wasn't the same way she's speaking to him, as you're going to see on here now. It was completely different.
Pictures. Hopefully she'll... Oh, she's already in.
Oh, Constructions.
There. Welcome, Kim. How's it going? Nice to talk to
I'm
you
going to
again.
stay off camera, though, just,
Oh,
just
100%.
Yeah.
I understand.
Right. Thank you guys for coming. Hi, how are you? I really appreciate you. I'm sorry, you're very bright and insightful, and I think that, well, both of you, right?
How's it going? Nice to talk to
I'm
you
going to
again.
stay off camera, though, just,
Oh,
just
100%.
I'm going to stay off camera. Yes, I bet you are. I bet you are.
Yeah.
I understand.
Right. Thank you guys for coming. Hi, how are you? I really appreciate you. I'm sorry, you're very bright and insightful, and I think that, well, both of you, right? Digging in Olivia, too, is what's going to get this solved, because, and I could be wrong, and I want to...
Now, did you hear that? Okay. She thinks Lana is very insightful, and this crew are going to get this solved. This crew are going to get this solved. What? This crew with none of the evidence? This crew with none of the interview information that the police have, or the feds? This crew that haven't even seen the crime scene? They're going to solve it, are they, Kim? Are they? Talk about love bombing, all right? As soon as you come out, oh, hi, yes, I love you, you're wonderful, you're insightful, and I know you're going to solve this crime. Love bomb 101. Flatter the target.
That way. I'm going to say that I'm not attacking anybody, and I don't want any student or family to think that I think their kid did something wrong or they did something.
I don't want any student or their family to think I think that they did anything wrong. Well, yesterday you said that you're not quite sure, that you don't know if you think that they didn't do anything wrong. But this, remember, was prior to the one we listened to yesterday. This was the first interview. Okay? Well, you imply on Olivia's channel, Kim, that that you think they did do something wrong. All right, that led to their deaths.
I think your kids and missteps occur, and it's your life, and we've just had this really unfortunate event. And if I don't say something as a human being, as a person on this planet, and a mother, and God forbid it happens again, I just, it's not acceptable. We all...
God forbid it happens again. What happens again, though? What? The murder, the guy getting into the property and killing them all, or this conspiracy that you keep alluding to, that you're saying you need to speak out about? What?
To say something, and I'm not the only one to know something, and so if I'm wrong, I am happy to be wrong. I want to be wrong.
If I'm wrong, this is the first interview, remember? This is the first interview. If I am wrong, well, like I said in the video yesterday, if my daughter was to come to me and give me an account of a murder that had happened in the halls at her college, all right, as I said yesterday, I would not be repeating it, and if there was an opportune time to repeat it, and it was 100% factual, she had a first-hand account from the surviving witness, say, and she'd told me a couple of things, and it wasn't going to affect any kind of investigation, I wouldn't need to say that if I'm wrong, because I would know. Well, it would be factual. Does that make sense? So you can't know what you're saying is factual if there's a chance you could be wrong, right? So this is the manipulation that goes over these true crime experts' heads, okay? They don't even pick up on these kinds of signs, which to me, is that not irony? You're covering true crime that are typically criminals within true crime with a criminal mind. So if they've got a criminal mind, they have to be narcissistic, right? You're not going to get an empath that's killing sorority sisters and a fraternity brother out of nowhere while you're simultaneously a teacher's assistant and trying to earn your degree to be a professor, okay? So the typical mind would have to be narcissistic. Not a narcissist, but narcissistic. Self-absorbed, grandiose, abusive, manipulative, a pathological liar, all right? That would go without saying.
Actually, I don't want this to be as horrific as I feel like it is. So that's where I'm coming from. And it's not just about my kids; it's about all of these kids.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Is it?
I think that it's if you know something, you should say it, and I think that you should encourage the people, like whatever would make it be like hearsay for you, to be like, hey, just tell them what you know, type of thing.
Right.
Lead by example. So I think that's great.
I think that's the only way we can do it with raising children. And I'm happy to take that heat off of the girls in her sorority house. And I did call the FBI on the 13th. It might have been the 14th because it might have been late at night when we got home.
Hold on, because I have a screenshot to show you, all right? Because in the interview he did last night with Kim, that I've woke up to today, the one where he's, not the one with Kim, sorry, the one where he's legitimizing Kim in a follow-up video, he shows a couple of emails. He shows an email of Olivia saying that her and Steve Gonsalves would like to be in touch with Kim, all right? So Steve's in on this, and I'm not going to give my personal opinion on that man. As far as I'm concerned, he's a father with a father grieving, all right? But I'm not surprised he jumped on it with Olivia, okay? For some reason, I am just not surprised. I've observed him over social media, and I'm just not prepared to say anymore. However, okay, this woman shows her calls, a call log, which I'm going to go and find now and just pull it up and insert it here. And she says there she called them on the 13th, all right? Well, this call log that she shows the 15th, all right? Now, I know it's a minor discrepancy, but it's still a discrepancy.
In the 13th.
I think that you should encourage the people, like whatever would make it be like hearsay for you, to be like, hey, just tell them what you know, type of thing.
Right.
Lead by example. So I think that's great.
I think that's the only way we can do it with raising children. And I'm happy to take that heat off of the girls in her sorority house. And I did call the FBI on the 13th. It might have been the 14th because it might have been late at night when we got home.
So it might have been the 14th because it was late when we got home. All right, give me a second. Okay, here's Kim's call log. All right. And you've got the November the 15th at 2:15 p.m. And then obviously there's several other calls there on the 15th and showing the 16th, going into the 16th. The same area as well, exactly the same area. Oh no, it's not, because there's another column there. So that's a toll-free. That comes up then as toll-free CL, the one that she's claiming is the FBI call. And it was 2:15 in the afternoon of November 15th. It wasn't November the 13th, that night, going into the 14th. It was November 15th at 2:15 pretty much in the afternoon that you called. Now, hold on. This is the other screenshot he shows that is so blurry. This is the best copy I could get of it, all right? This, you can make out, it says November 14th, all right? And the time above the one that says unavailable, I'm guessing says unavailable. You can't tell what kind of time it is, but the one before it looks like 11:01 a.m. all right? So it was mid-morning. It would have to be after that, because then the one following that does say 12:13, I believe, right, on the left. And the call that she's claiming she made actually happened on November 14th, I don't know, around 11:10 a.m. in the morning. Okay, and this one has a different, it says unavailable, there's no number, because she's saying that she's called the Fed several times. Okay, and at some point in the interview she says, I'm on the phone to the police almost every day. So I'm thinking, you know, is this woman some kind of Karen? All right, it's not Kim, it's Karen. Because the area that where it says unavailable, I can't make out what that would be, but it does say WA, which again doesn't really help me. The one before it, I mean, you just can't make anything out. This is blurry. Why have I got a blurry screenshot of phone records and the only clear one shows a different day? It shows the phone number, and he even says, Drunk Turkey, Daniel J even says, you can call that number, call it, all right? She called them. That's the number, that's why it's not blacked out. But this doesn't look like a different area. If you go to the other one, it says toll free. And this one, I don't even know what that says. So anyway, these are the screenshots. And then just to prove it's hers, he does show this one that does say, you know, Kim S, and her surname's blocked out, obviously. And then it just shows the rest of the call log. Which you can't, again, it's pretty blurry. So anyway, there is a call. There's this one on the 15th at 2:15. And there's the other one that shows the 14th at approximately 11 a.m. in the morning. And that number does say unavailable. If you've rang the feds the same time and it was the same, calling the same number, I don't know why it wouldn't show up as the same on the call log. I don't know why the other one says unavailable. Unless that was, I don't even know. I was going to say an incoming call, but it can't have been, because it'd have been before this one. And how would they know to call her? You know, it's not like she could have already left the tip. I'm no clearer, all right? But either way, these aren't things that are proof anything of what she said happened. This is the true crime community. People fake documents, fake phone logs, fake text messages, fake all kinds of shit, photographs, you name it. We've probably had experience over the last 5 years that we've been around here with all kinds of trickery, all right? All kinds. So what would have been ideal would be Kim to show the text message she got at 10 a.m. from her daughter telling her what happened, all right? Any text messages from the 13th of November, the 14th of November, the 15th, any text messages she has from her daughter, she can block the names out, block the number out, and show the text. At least there would be a step in the right direction to prove authenticity, that Kim has this account from her daughter and it's legitimate. But even if she showed me that, the holes in this story are phenomenal, all right? There's not even holes. I mean, there's just no base to it at all. There's no foundation. There was a lot of loud noise. Let's go over again, recap. There was a lot of loud noise. Everybody ran to their rooms and locked their doors. They were hiding. There was 3 guys or 2 and 1 outside. And they called Pi Beta Phi, I think it was it 8 a.m. according to Kim. They called there first before they called the police. Now, this is no different. Kim's story is no different to the hundreds and hundreds and thousands of commenters under videos leaving speculations. This is my point. Her story holds no more water than any of our theories. She has no more proof than any of us do to prove our theories or speculations. Okay? If that makes sense, right? So why has she been given all this airtime to put this out, her version of events out, as though this did happen? It's factual. Her story doesn't make sense, Daniel. Go over her story with a fine-tooth comb. It doesn't make any sense. It's all, and she even says a couple of times, I thought that, oh, well, my daughter did. Like, she keeps messing up. It's like she's revised a script and she's blurting it out as quick as she can and jumping from one thing to the next and making it sound incredible. And of course, it's all grandiose, all right? She's got all the, I mean, she even knows about whose was the footprint, the latent footprint. Oh, she knows everything, all right? So why isn't she solving this case then? Why isn't she working for the police if she has all this background into the case? Why ain't she being used as some kind of consultant? She seems to know everything. It's ridiculous and it's just for views. That I tell you, that is going to be, I would guess at this point, my final conclusion. Because as yet, I don't see anything to sway me to believe that in any way this can be true. And it's bullshit that you put it out to such a mass audience and it's done with all this emotion, all right? And all these histrionics, and people catch on to that and latch onto it, and they're all being emotional and saying crazy things. And then after that, they're visiting the family's social media or the surviving victim's social media and bothering and bugging them in real life. That's the problem. Here is where it starts with this crazy speculation. You can have speculation surrounding the facts, but you need to keep your feet on the floor while you're having the speculation. The probable and the possible. The probable versus the probable. No, shit. The probable versus the possible. Anything can be possible, all right? Anything. But is it probable? And most of the things that Kim has to say, to me, is less probable.
The 14th, but it was right when I got home and got into range. We don't have very good range. Really, honestly, you only have about 2 hours of good range between Pullman and Seattle. So,
What service do you use?
Verizon.
Verizon. Okay.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of question marks about.
Brian
what
had
people have been
AT&T.
saying. Yeah, Brian had AT&T. I think AT&T is the service around there that is the most strongest.
Yeah, and I know that the school does provide. So everybody but the kids in Greek or Greek live outs at Wazoo, they have Wi-Fi provided to them. So he actually doesn't even own his own Wi-Fi, so the police could get access to it, I believe. I think.
Right.
Well, Brian was on the university's Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Right. So that's not really his. He doesn't own
Correct.
that. Right. That's
Correct. They could. That's why actually they didn't make any there was no talk about the router because he didn't have one.
Yes, they don't have a router. In fact, my son's room had he lived in a single, and he had the whole system was in his room. It's like school, and it's out of control, and kids are getting hurt, and they're exposed. I don't think these girls invited this at all. I think it happened to them. I think they were naive and trusting, and I think they're really kind. I think they're my daughter. She's super kind, right? She'll stop and she'll pick you up if you've fallen down or whatever. I mean, that's how these kids are on the campuses. They trust. And
I also think that when you have a house that they had and they had a bunch of friends, that's not a secret. They had a bunch of friends.
Right, sure.
You don't realize that what your friends tell you, I'm going to the baseball party, I'm going to a baseball party, or I'm going
She does know these people. Watch how she responds when the second gentleman comes on the panel.
to the soccer.
Right.
But I have to say
yeah, and I'm definitely not answering the door if the police are there because I'm not getting an MIP and they know this, these kids, right? And so I think it's normal behavior, and that's the stuff that those friendships are built on, right? There's my daughter's her house, and I can't say the name of it, but it's a name I would rather it not be called. But it's, you know what? She wanted to live there. She loves it there.
First, okay, can I say hi, Kim?
Hi. Oh, I love you. You are just like a giant bear. And the drugger you get, the sweeter you get. So keep on going, my friend.
Slight awkwardness there from Lana. Okay, the touch in the face. The little dip she did, looking down like, oh God. Okay. That does not necessarily point to lying or anything like that, right? But it does point to possible deception, all right? Possible awkwardness. Well, why would you be awkward by her being nice to Big Blue? Well, because she's sounding too familiar, probably, and like she knows him. Oh, I just love you. You're just like a big cuddly. Now, obviously, they will have had to speak to her prior to this, but how we're led to believe this happened and how this all came about, having truth and transparency on panel, Kim is simply a mother that has got in touch with us and has a story to share. Well, I think there's possibly a lot more that we don't know about, all right?
Hey, I'm
Watch
done.
their
I'm
awkwardness. Watch.
She loves it there.
First, okay, can I say hi, Kim?
Hi. Oh, I love you. You are just like a giant bear. And the drugger you get, the sweeter you get. So keep on going, my friend.
Hey, I'm done. I'm almost done.
She loves it there.
First, okay, can I say hi, Kim?
Hi. Oh, I love you. You are just like a giant bear. And the drugger you get, the sweeter you get. So keep on going, my friend.
Hey,
Right, bless you.
I'm done.
Why?
I'm almost done.
Buddy, take two aspirin, right?
Yeah.
So
My
cute. You
girlfriend
are
says, I'm a big bear.
Yeah.
I'm a big
You know
bear.
what? There's a lot of great in being a big bear. I'll tell you that. That's
But, you know, I can appreciate most people in this, but
Who just meets a guy? Okay, now maybe it is just her, and they don't know. They haven't been all having multiple conversations behind the scenes prior to this. But who meets a guy and just comments on his weight? How rude is that? Think about it. How rude is that to just say to somebody, "Oh God, you're just such like a big cuddly bear"? Like what the fuck? Boundaries zero so far.
world, and I love you.
I love you too. And
He thinks he can.
drink me.
Oh my God,
What'd she
Blue.
say? I love you too.
Two aspirin, right?
Yeah.
So
My
cute. You are
girlfriend says, "No, I'm a big bear."
Yeah.
I'm a big
You know
bear.
what? There's a lot of great in being a big bear. I'll tell you that. That's
But, you know, I can appreciate most people in this fucking world, and I love you.
I love you too. And
He thinks he can.
drink me.
Oh my God, Blue. I know I can.
So sweet.
Yeah,
I know you can.
forgot.
Let me see that passion fruit.
The bucket's gone. I make a whole bottle of bucket for you.
Ah,
Hope you enjoyed me.
yeah.
So sweet.
Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. Make sure you hit that thumbs up for our boy Blue.
Right? Oh my, that really is very funny. And you know, this is such a hard time. And and I will be honest with you, my daughter is less than pleased with me, and I don't care. I mean, we'll get over it, or she will, or whatever. But they're not afraid because there's a guy in jail. And what if it's not? And I'm not. Before I get the hate, I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying, what if they got the wrong guy?
Right.
We don't.
What if they got the wrong guy? Every single case these lot arrive, okay? It's the wrong guy. They've got the wrong guy. There's something bigger going on. It's a conspiracy. It's a cover-up. The police are hiding something. They're all connected. They all know each other. They knew each other before. Every single case, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. And it's all this magical thinking and this fantasy and delusional thinking. You'll notice that they'll never give you a handful of reasonable explanations, like I showed in the was it the Koberger comments video. They will not give you a handful of reasonable explanations. They will always give you a handful of ludicrous, crazy, over the top, dramatic, movie set style theories on how they believe the crime was covered. Now, narcissistic personalities, etc., cluster B personalities, they do use the TV and obviously now social media to gauge normal human responses, so they're not out of place, so they fit in because they're mirroring and mimicking normal human behavior most of the time. Okay, obviously they can't hold it all in. It leaks out. It's impossible for it not to leak out. But, and all this thinking, it's though they're the same types of theories and thinking that you see on the TV or in a movie, if that makes sense. Their thinking is in line with that, rather than people in the real world. And it's not about having, you can't have speculation and you can't have a theory. I'm trying to point out how off the wall they are and how extravagant and over the top and dramatic. Come on, everybody's heard them. Everybody's heard them. The way they went after Jackass, the theory there, all right? He walked them from the corner bar to the grub truck and was getting annoyed and agitated with them. They jumped in a car, went home. So he somehow found his way to their property, got in, killed 4 of them out of nowhere, drove 5 hours, I think it was 5 or 8 hours, to his parents' cabin. His family was all in Africa, and he just jumped on a plane to Africa, and he's going to get away with this crime. Now, for a start, you can't just get on a plane to Africa. You need to have injections, inoculations, things like that. You can't just get on a plane. You can't just fly off. You would need to have certain things in order to be able to go to certain parts of the world. And his parents are actually, I think it's both of them, are doctors. And they do humanitarian work over there in Africa. So you would assume they would have more access to places that aren't touristy. They're more, you would assume likely, they're living off grid kind of. I don't know obviously, but I don't think they're going there for the extravagant hotels and the pools. They're going there to help the poor, to do humanitarian work, help where they can. So they thought Jackass had gone there. The same with The same theories surrounding Jack D. There was a huge, big story of conflict. He was angry with her. It was a crime of passion, and he killed all 4 of them, Jack D. I mean, if you've seen a picture of Jack D, you would know why this story is so off the wall. Again, with Jeremy, the neighbour next door. He did it. He's the one been watching them, and he's coming on the news because, of course, Chris Watts and people in the past and people out of movies, they show killers or arsonists, for example, coming back to survey the scene or to involve themselves or insert themselves in the case somehow. So, of course, Jeremy walked straight off a movie set and he was inserting himself when he was really the killer. All right? That's what I'm saying. Every theory is off the wall. And I know some crimes, say like the Murdoch crime trial that's going on now, are crazy. There are cover-ups involved. I'm not saying there's never a bent copper or there's never a conspiracy. Clearly there are, and I won't even call them conspiracies if they're facts, just because they're stories about psychopaths and how they've set up these situations for themselves, and it's been going on generations, and then they finally get caught. All right, I don't know how they're conspiracies when it's a fact, but anyway, that's those kinds of stories. They're not, I won't even say they're few and far between. There's enough off-the-wall stories in the true crime genre that don't need any circus arriving to create more craziness to the stories, because some are genuinely crazy stories. But the theories that these guys put into them, they're never reasonable. Then they can never just be reasonable. Oh, well, what if it was that Brian Kohlberger, he is a psychopath. He has been growing or coming into being who he really is, right? He's on this course. He can't fight it any longer. He's got this killer urge, this killer instinct. He's a nut job. And he's been stalking. He's been looking for the perfect victims or victim. He was watching them, had been watching them, and it resulted in him killing them, right? It can't be that. It has to be, there was 3 guys in the house, one outside watching. They were stashing drugs in there, like Colombian drug lords. They had to hide the drugs before they could ring the police, Dylan and Bethany. And that's why they only called the police 8 hours later from the 4 a.m. incident when Dylan allegedly saw the killer, right? Nothing can just be reasonable. As Kim proves.
No.
What if they don't have
If
everybody?
I'm wrong. How can
I
you
mean,
be wrong?
and I will be honest with you, my daughter is less than pleased with me, and I don't care. I mean, we'll get over it, or she will, or whatever, but they're not a...
Why would you do that to your daughter? Hang on, and here again with a boundary and a red flag that's worth noticing. If I was going to embarrass my daughter, if my daughter was to say to me, Mum, your last video was embarrassing, or Mum, I saw your video and it was embarrassing, or you're embarrassing me, or if I shared a picture of her, which I don't do, that she didn't like, I would take it down. If my daughter has said to me outside school, for example, when I used to do the pickups when she was at school, there were maniacs that would park outside that school. The parents outside that school were reckless, the way they would park and the way they would pull out, so entitled, hitting people. I mean, they'd be arguing, parking on the double yellows, parking on the zigzags, all that kind of stuff, right? So there'd always be an issue daily outside her school, to the point I started going and picking her up a bit later, like 5 minutes later, when it had all died down. And I remember at one point in the car saying to her, do you know what? I'm going to beep my horn. I am sick of these people. Who the hell do they think they are? Just keep pulling out in front of you and nearly hitting you, or putting your life in danger, or just ploughing through a stop sign as you're going through the junction. You have right of way. I mean, how dangerous is that? And I'd once said to her, do you know what? I'm going to beep in a minute. I'm so sick of these people. They're doing my head in. They're going to get someone killed. They just nearly hit my car. And she said to me, Mom, don't press that horn. Don't. That's my friend's mum over there. They're my friends there and whatever. You're going to embarrass me. Please don't press it. So guess what I didn't do? I didn't press it. All right. So the fact that you are prepared to come online and you give away her name, which I will try not to include in here, but you say it. You're responsible for what you put out, not me. I will try and, I don't even know how I'm going to do that, because she just says it randomly out of nowhere. But she says her own kid's name. Okay. She's told us which university she goes to. It's a name that you don't hear too often, so it wouldn't be too hard to figure out who this kid is if you're a student at that university. And she simply says to her kid, you'll get over it, while she's coming online and sharing all this crazy speculation about what, the most high profile case to hit that area in however long. And she doesn't care about her daughter's feelings. She cares more about coming on here and spreading this bullshit. If you think that there's a conspiracy or a cover-up going on, you have done the right thing already, Kim, because apparently, allegedly, you've called the FBI and you've called the police. You've made numerous calls, as you say yourself. So why do you need to come on social media? Why don't you see if the police don't do anything with what you've allegedly said, this crazy conspiracy, right? If they don't investigate it and find it to be nothing, or if they're helping cover something up, like in the Murdoch case, right? I can understand you coming to social media to bring awareness to it, because obviously that's not all right, but that's not what you're doing. This case hasn't been solved. We haven't got to the end of the road yet. We don't know what the outcome's going to be. Hey, Sky. So there's no need for you to... I'm giving a voice. If you see something wrong, you need to say something. That's the manipulation. That's what you want people to believe, and that's what they are believing, because people are typically gullible and naive on social media. They're not looking for warning signs, red flags, manipulation. No, they believe these kinds of people are experts in true crime and know exactly what they're talking about. They're investigators, as far as Kim's concerned, because she believes these guys are going to solve the Idaho 4 case, even though it's already in the process of being solved and there's a trial set for June. All right. But these guys, without the evidence, right, without seeing the scene of the crime, without giving any interviews to any witnesses or surviving witnesses, without hearing her account and knowing what happened from her perspective, Kim believes these guys are going to solve it. All right. And she doesn't care about embarrassing her daughter, which this is likely going to do if it gets a lot of views. I haven't checked how many it's sat at yet, but Olivia's was sat at 100k before she took it down. And it did result in what I said it would when I said in my video that was a direct call out to Mr. Gonsalves. She wanted him to hear what she was saying. She kept singling him out. And I said she would love him to get in touch and be the needy person on the other end of the line, needing the information that only you've got. I mean, that would just supply you with enough fuel to last you a year, Kim. I've no doubt. All right? You would love that. And that's what this is about to me. There's no way a healthy parent of a teen over something as serious as this would tell her daughter pretty much, I don't give a shit, I'm doing it, and you proceed to come online and share the absolute nonsense, the nonsensical nonsense that you share. Already, I don't like this woman.
Brave, because there's a guy in jail. And what if it's not? And I'm not, before I get the hate, I'm not saying it's not.
Yes,
I'm not
you
saying
are,
it is.
because
I'm just
you said
saying,
there were
what
3
if
guys,
they got the wrong guy?
Kim.
We don't know.
Or what if they don't have everybody? You know?
Oh,
And that's
God.
my thing too. This was, so what I'm allowed to share, maybe I'm not, and I really at this point don't care. Throw my ass in jail. What are they going to do, right? I'm a
Share
mom.
hey, exercise your First Amendment. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, what if they got the wrong guy? We don't know.
Or what if they don't have everybody? You know?
And that's my thing too. This was, so what I'm allowed to share, maybe I'm not, and I really at this point don't care. Throw my ass in jail. What are they going to do, right?
At this point, I don't care. What are they going to do? Throw my ass in jail? Well, you know that there's a gag order, all right? And even though that doesn't stretch to the general public, that's for the court and possibly media, cops, witnesses, people that may be subpoenaed to appear at the trial, if there is going to be a trial, if he pleads not guilty. You don't give a shit, all right? You're going to say what you need to say. That matters more to you. That matters more to you, because apparently, remember, this information that you know of this crime is so important that you've called the feds, you've called the police, you've called them more than once, and it's so important that they know what you know, all right? And it's so delicate, as you lead us to think it is, but yet you're not going to give them time to investigate it and come to some kind of resolution and figure out whatever, follow the line of evidence wherever it leads from what you've said. You're just going to come on here and spill your guts, all right? That's what you chose to do. That's what a smart, healthy parent chose to do. You told the cops, the feds, and then you just thought, fuck it, what are they going to do? Throw me in jail? I don't care. I'm just going to go online and tell everybody what. Well, what do you even tell us, Kim? There was 3 guys.
Hey, exercise your First Amendment. Go ahead.
Right.
You're not
There
gay.
are two crimes that were committed on the same night, and I think it's just by chance. I think I don't necessarily know that Kaylee was the target. I actually think she wasn't the target. I think she was. So what I'm allowed to share. Maybe I'm not. And I really at this point don't care. Throw my ass in jail. What are they going to do? Right?
Hey, exercise your First Amendment. Go ahead.
Right.
You're not gay.
There are two crimes that were committed on the same night, and I think it's just by chance. I think I don't necessarily know that Kaylee was the target. I actually think she wasn't the target. I think she was just like passionately by somebody, and that's why he.
Go ahead.
Right.
So, you're not gay.
So there was 2 other events that took place that night that were crimes. That's what she's saying. All right, everybody get the pens and paper.
There are 2. I'm just saying, what if they got the wrong guy?
Right.
We don't know.
What if they don't have everybody? You know?
And that's my thing too. This is so what I'm allowed to share. Maybe I'm not. And I really at this point don't care. Throw my ass in jail. What are they going to do? Right?
Hey, exercise your First Amendment. Go ahead.
Right.
You're not gay.
There are two crimes that were committed on the same night, and I think it's just by chance. I think I don't necessarily know that Kaylee was the target. I actually think she wasn't the target. I think she was just like passionately by somebody, and that's why he took it out on her. But I think maybe the intent was a different person. But there's a sorting house there, and I'm going to say.
What does that even mean, what she just said? I can't even unscramble that. Whether I've got a pen and paper at the side of me or not. I can't even unscramble that. She tells us there were 2 other crimes that happened on the same night, right? But then I almost think now she's gone back to the Idaho 4 because she says, I do think one of them was the target. I don't even know.
Hey guys, because I know that Kaylee was the target. I actually think she wasn't the target. I think she was just like passionately by.
Disliked passionately by Kohlberger. But I thought you just said there was 2 other crimes that happened on the same night. I actually thought then this might be going somewhere. Right, okay. So,
That's why
woman.
he took it out on her. But I think maybe the intent was a different person. But there's a sorting house there, and I'm going to say it, guys, because I've said it to you on social media, so I'm going to just say it out loud. If you're a Sigma Chi and you go to U of I, collectively get your friends together, protect yourselves, and go and tell them what happened. That's what I'm telling you.
I want to add one thing.
Yeah.
This is
Go and tell the police what happened, as though the police this far in, we're in January now, coming to the end of January, as though the police have not gone to these sorority houses and interviewed these kids, okay? I know they have their own community, they have like campus police, and there's a difference between the campus police knowing about what you've done and the genuine police know. I think all that is a load of bullshit, okay? I don't like it. I don't like how that works. I think things like rape and sexual assaults get covered up by those campus police, and what they're covering up, because rape is serious, like it's a very serious dark red flag to somebody's character. So the only thing, when you hear these stories of the campus police and a rape was reported to them but they didn't report it to the proper police, right? It was just, I don't know, the dean is talked about in the dean's office and it's handled that way. The kid's kicked out or whatever. Or there's no proof or evidence that it happened after a girl's reported it. But they don't encourage you to go to the actual police and report it. Things like that you hear about. I do not like any of that. I don't like any of it. So anyway, what's she on about? I'm losing my thread.
Took it out on her, but I think maybe the intent was a different person. But there's a sorting house there, and I'm going to say it, guys, because I've said it to you on social media, so I'm going to just say it out loud. If you're a Sigma Chi and you go to U of I, collectively get your friends together, protect yourselves, and go and tell them what happened. That's what I'm telling you.
How do you know they haven't? Why don't you enlighten us as to how you know they haven't done that or the police haven't interviewed? Pray tell.
I want to add one thing.
Yeah.
This is the real Kim. You can't make up her voice. She has that voice. You can't make it up. This is her, guys.
I know my cousins have all come from
This is the real her. It ain't no fakes. It ain't no Collins. This is her, guys.
You know, I want to be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll apologize to everybody. I
want to be wrong. People that are telling a factual story don't say that because it's factual. If you're telling, when I'm relaying something, say that I saw happen on YouTube, all right? I will say, I'm sure A did B. I'm sure they did, but I missed this portion of the show. But I'm sure A did B. I could be wrong, right? Though they are the instances you're using phrases like that. You're not using I may be wrong. Listen, they've got her on this channel as a witness of sorts that has got a first-hand account from her daughter, from the people that were present at the scene of the crime, okay? Her daughter, by 10 a.m. in the morning, knew the injuries of all 4 kids and her son, and knew where the bodies were positioned in the house. All right. So now I'm not saying there was no phone calls. I'm critiquing her story. We don't know what happened in the 8 hours with Dylan and Bethany being the only surviving people in that house after the alleged Brian Kohlberger went in there and killed the other 4, right? I don't know any more than Kim, but that's the point. This spreading of bullshit and lies matters. First, they introduce her as a legitimate source of information connected to this crime. Well, if her story and everything, her account is legitimate, how can she say, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, or I hope I'm not wrong? Because she would know what she is saying to be factual. And do you know what facts are? Facts are things that aren't wrong. They're facts. That's why they're called facts. So how is she giving a legitimate account if she's able to say this? This is what I mean. This is what I mean. I'm not saying that woman doesn't have a kid at that university. I'm not even going to say that that woman never rang the feds, okay? Because I can full well imagine that she did. I can full well imagine that she's heard her daughter mention it in one way or another. Or I can even imagine her being the one to ask her daughter about it, okay? Because the personality type that she's presenting to me, objectively, by the way, is of a person that doesn't keep boundaries, that doesn't have any kind of general empathy, because she clearly isn't able to put herself in somebody else's shoes, because if she could put herself in somebody else's shoes, why would you do this to the family? Why would you say on social media, I know the condition of Kaylee and Maddie's bodies? Why would you say that? Why would you say that?
Going to be hurt. I think they were at all. I mean, a misstep is a misstep. If she just didn't know, she saw some. I think they were going to be roughed up. I think when.
Listen to that sentence.
You can't make it up. This is her, guys.
I know my cousins have all
This is the real her. It ain't no fakes. It ain't no Collins. This is her, guys.
You know, I want to be wrong. If I'm wrong,
I want to be wrong. If I'm wrong,
I'll apologize to everybody.
I'll apologise to everybody.
I don't want Dylan to
I don't like Dylan.
be hurt. I think they were
I don't want Dylan to be hurt
at all. I mean, a misstep is a
at all. A misstep. This bit is where it gets tricky. A misstep
misstep. If she just didn't know, she saw
is just to know
some. I think they were going to be roughed up. I think when.
to be roughed up
Okay,
by.
what I think, my belief is that.
She doesn't.
I want to be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll apologize to everybody.
Listen to this
I don't want
sentence.
Dylan to be hurt. I think they were at all. I mean, a misstep is a misstep. If she just didn't know, she saw some. I think they were going to be roughed
If she just didn't know, and she didn't know if they were going to be roughed up.
up. I think when.
I think, and then she cuts off, which is what she was doing when I was in the first video I put up. That's exactly what I said she was doing. She starts these sentences off with a whole lot of information in them, and she doesn't get to the end of the sentence. She just cuts off. It's like she realizes she's fucked up, or she said too much, or she's got it wrong. So she just swiftly, in a panic, jumps to something else to get your focus away from the fuck up. If anyone's taking any missteps in this story, Kim, it's you, all right? It's you.
What I think, my belief is that.
So hang on.
And it could-
What I think, what my belief is. Hello. This is not a factual account of anything. She's just said it to us all. There. What I think. All right? What I think is what she thinks to what I think happened. There's no, like, can you see how she has to elevate herself and make her what she knows and her speculation and what she thinks, it's elevated, it's grandiose. All right, look where she is. She's on a huge channel. She was on another huge channel with Olivia. She's lapping in all this attention, and these people are saying that she's a witness. They're calling her some kind of witness, relevant witness, legitimate witness to this case. No, she's not.
My mom and
no, she's not.
I want to be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll apologize to everybody. I don't want Dylan to be hurt. I think they were at all. I mean, a misstep is a misstep. If she just didn't know, she saw some. I think they were going to be roughed up. I think when. Okay, what I think, my belief is that.
My belief
and it could be just my mom instinct, but I have 7 kids. They're all pretty good, so I think I have instinct there. And
it could be my mum instinct.
I think that they were done.
Protective
That
mummy.
Kaylee didn't want to do this. Maddie didn't want to do this. Anna wanted nothing to do with this. I think that there was a neighbor who likely is the one who called 911, who was doing it the year before when his girlfriend lived in the house and selling out of that house.
Do what, Kim?
But I have 7 kids. They're all pretty good, so I think I have instinct there. And I think that they were done. That Kaylee didn't want to do this.
I think that they were done. I think that Kaylee didn't want to do this. Do what? Do what?
They didn't want to do this. Anna wanted nothing to do with this.
Xana wanted nothing to do with this. When wanted nothing to do with what?
I think that there was a neighbor who
Right.
likely is the one who called 911, who was doing it the year before when his girlfriend lived in the
So the neighbour is the one that called 911 and he was doing it the year before when his girlfriend...
house and selling out of that house. And I believe the house was the target and the girls didn't want. But I have 7 kids. They're all pretty good. So I think I have instinct there. And I think that they were done. That Kaylee didn't want to do this. Maddie didn't want to do this. Anna wanted nothing to do with this. I think that there was a neighbor who likely is the one who called 911, who was doing it the year before when his girlfriend lived in the house and selling out of that house. And I believe the house was the target and the girls didn't want any part of it. It was the first semester, if you think about it, that they were all living collectively together. So I think that they were sucked into something they didn't know was in front of them by somebody who they trusted. They trusted people.
Okay, and there she says again, I think they were suckered into somebody that they thought could be trusted. All right? How's she a legitimate witness, Daniel? How's she a legitimate anything? She's no different to you or Blue or Lana or me or anybody else with some speculation and some having a theory. So, but why does it have to be stirred up and presented as though she's a witness and she has got sensitive information again towards the case? That would be clout chasing off this tragedy. That would be tragedy pimping. That would be toxic, not healthy. Clearly, you've got a choice. If you want to do that, you want to do that. But why would you want to do that? Why would you want to monopolise a murder of 4 students and exploit it for self-gain? Why would you? Why would you? Why would you want to do that? A normal, healthy person, why would you want to do that? I'd love an answer.
Nobody ever hurt them before. It's like my kids. My kids don't know what it's like. A lot of these kids.
Kim, I just want to tell you, in real life, you don't know who to trust, babe. You don't know who to trust. Everybody in the back.
Wait, can I ask you?
I hate.
You do know who to trust. If you're a person with boundaries and you observe red flags, okay, and you know about toxic behaviour and toxic traits, you do know who people are. Of course you do. It's like when people will say, oh, well, there were no signs. There's no signs. There wasn't a sign. I never knew there was no sign. There are signs. There were signs. But you didn't know the language of the signs. You didn't know how to interpret them. You didn't know what the signs looked like. You didn't know. But that doesn't mean there were no signs. No psychopath or sociopath or even a narcissist is able to hold all that inside and hide it from everybody 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 30 days out of the month, 365 days out of the year, a decade, 20 years, 30 years. People are married to these personality types for decades. I was with one for a decade, just over a decade, okay? I lived with my family for almost 4 decades. Well, not live with them, but I was around them closely for almost 4 decades and didn't have a clue. I didn't know what I now know to be signs were. But there are signs. There are. So you can know who to trust in real life. Yes, you can.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Go ahead.
So, because I did some deep digging into the people that had been living there the year before, because people were really confused about whose actually house it was and like how that all came about. Maddie lived with a group of girls from the Pi Phi.
I'm just gonna skip a bit
Yeah.
of this.
So Maddie actually
There's a lot of people asking who's Kim and whatnot. So Kim is the person that we spoke to a week ago maybe now, where she came on the phone, stated that she had 2 kids who were attending WSU and had some possible information based on the what her kids may know. And as far as vetting her,
What are kids what?
there's a lot of people asking who's Kim and whatnot. So Kim is the person that we spoke to a week ago maybe now, where she came on the phone, stated that she had 2 kids who were attending WSU and had some possible information based on the what her kids may know. And as far as
Right,
vetting
so
her,
she had some possible information based on what her kids may know, all right? And her kids attend Washington State University. They're not even in the same university. And we're treating this woman as though she is like a prominent witness. It's amazing.
it was she had given me names of certain people that were involved. And one of them was a athlete at the University of Idaho. Chronicles of Olivia came out. So he was a football player. I will say that is accurate. It was a football
Yeah,
player.
you didn't say that though. You didn't tell us where he was in, but you
Right,
did.
right.
That's okay too. You know, I mean,
Right. I didn't want to say the sport, but she put it out there already. So it is what it is. So it was a football
I already
player.
So they're alluding to something going on behind the scenes. And there's a guy or a kid involved that's a football player that Olivia connected that part to the story because they never gave his name. They was just talking about this guy or something. And Olivia was able to deduce from whatever it is she knows or has heard, because she has visited Idaho and covered this case extensively in real life. So she was able to, she knew that this guy was a footballer. And this is how they're saying that they came to come together, because they had, or they'd heard the same types of rumours, the drunk turkey guys, as via Kim, as Olivia had, coincidentally. All right.
Call to the AD anyway. To have
Kim,
him.
Kim,
Right.
Yes, love.
I want to thank you very much for coming on the show. You know,
Anytime, buddy. Anytime.
Can I get show? Right, I got drink, and I got to enjoy something. And you know, everybody out there, there's 3,000 of y'all out there. You
It's a
know,
lot. I think it's viral.
this is me on a free day, no work.
There is a lot, Kim. Yes, it possibly will go viral considering it's a high-profile case. Did you have no idea about that before you approached these guys? Absolutely none. Really? Oh, fascinating.
Even in shop, I look. She was like,
Oh my God.
There's no cup, no bottle, this bottle. You know, cheers, my friend. Cheers.
Cheers, my friend.
Thank you very much for being on the show.
You're welcome. I will do it anytime. I don't know if I never have more information than I have right now.
I want to see somebody outdrink me. And
No, I think it's already happened tonight.
I think that you would win. I think you could go to camp. I think you could go to one of the fraternity houses and you would win that
so,
battle.
my friends,
So this is supposed to be an important account of what Kim knows, this relevant information. Allegedly, Kim knows surrounding this case. It's crucial information. It's need to know information. You need to know this part of the story. And when you get down to the grassroots of it all, what is it really? What is it really? It's nothing more than what we've heard before. Like I keep saying, narcissistic individuals will insert themselves into cases to fuel ideas of their own self-importance. She quite likes the idea of there being 3K people in a chat. I've been on YouTube, 5 years, actually in the communities, rather than just coming on YouTube to watch something. And I would freak if there was even 3K views on a video. I'd be like, what the hell? Why are all those people coming over here to watch that? Why are they interested? Who are they? That would just... Well, I'm me and she's her, obviously. But yeah, she quite enjoys the idea, doesn't she? 3K people watching. You go, Kim. You go.
salute.
Salute, right?
Salute.
Oh, yes.
You could be on my beer Olympic team any day.
Yeah. So
I need to know before I hang up with you. What are your sports, lady?
I played golf and basketball.
Golf and
I need to know before you hang up, Kim, what the hell your story is. What is it? What do you know? What? Because you had a lot to say on Olivia's panel about the 3 guys inside, 1 out, or the 2 guys inside and 1 out. Everybody runs to their room and hides, locks their doors, and apparently the killers still get in the bedroom doors. And as far as we know, there's no damage to any doors. So how did the killer get to the victims? And why did they, if there's 3 guys inside or 2 and 1 outside, why did they leave 2 alive, untouched? How come Dylan's account doesn't mention anybody else? Are the police keeping all that secret? Well, probable versus possible. It is possible that they may have to keep some elements of this case entirely secret, only for the courtroom when the trial begins. But is it likely? Is it probable? Well, they believe they've got their guy, don't they? So if there was somebody else involved, I would assume they would have arrested them and they'd be being charged along with Brian. But so far, Brian's been charged on his own. So I can only conclude from the factual evidence in front of me, which is factual. We know Brian's been arrested. He's been held without bail. And I think there's another hearing coming up soon. And then the trial is set to begin in June. All right? Last week of June. Where are the other perpetrators? Where are they? Where are the other 2 or 3 and 1 waiting outside that you speak about? Where are they? Why have they not been arrested? What were their names? What did they look like? Does anyone have a description? If everybody knows that there was 3 inside the house and 1 outside keeping lookout, why aren't there any descriptions? Even Dylan, in her confused and just woken up state, was able to give a good description of the person she saw in the house. They had a face mask on, a COVID mask over their nose and mouth, big eyebrows, dressed in black, and that was that, right? Not too heavy set build, kind of athletic, 5'10" or above. So where are the descriptions of these 3 dudes inside and one outside of the house? There are none. Why haven't you got one? Why would that not be? Because you seem so pressed to prove that there's some kind of conspiracy going on within the state of Idaho and Washington surrounding these universities and the fraternities and sorority groups, but yet everything you tell, nothing can be pinned down with it. Nothing. I mean, the 3 guys could have been anyone. Do you know what car they arrived in? How they got there? A description? Anything? How did they leave? How long were they there? What were they doing? You can't just imply there was a lot of noise. What was the noise? Okay? Because killers, murderers, those that aren't a crime of passion, they're usually planned, and the killer, you would assume, would be quiet, creeping up on their prey. I don't think they'd be broadcasting it, driving to the house with music blaring from their car, for example. All right? So, but you explain there was lots of noise, 3 people in the house, or 2 people, 1 waiting outside, keeping lookout. Well, how did they get there? She knows nothing. This person is a liar. She's a liar. She's lying. Lying.
Oh, you are a rock star. I knew you were a baller. I have all ballers, but I didn't pick golf.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I bet you played good. What position in basketball?
I was a point guard.
A true point guard.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
because Lana's sport interest back in the day from when she was at college, university, is more important than this pertinent information you have to deliver to this channel and the rest of us, the 3K in the chat watching. A waste of time.
Right. Yes. Not even one. Not even a sip. That's the rule.
No,
Well,
I
can I
agree.
just say that about the kids? They called for a ride. Like, they're not out there driving and drinking and driving. So their cars be lined up perfectly like that. Well, that's where they parked them probably on Monday.
Do you know what's kind of funny here? That Lana is known for deep dives and being scrupulous, or really, I don't know how to explain it. Like, she's kind of known for, if she's in on a case, she's all in. Okay, if the Chris Watts case was anything to go by, all right. So she's all in and questions everything. Even things that don't need questioning, even things where you've already got an answer. She'll be doubtful, or she'll double check or circle back that there's no way the answer could be different or wrong, or there's another variable, okay? So she'll be thorough in those kinds of ways. But then in relation to this case, and she's been thorough over on her channel, you know, investigating different theories and things like that, which everybody is allowed to do. The problem is not with people having theories or any speculation. The problem is with the blatant lying and the speculation. Hey, come here. With the speculation that isn't based on evidence or facts of the case. It's literally just pulled out from the air. So even if there's no, for example, if there's no hint of drugs in a kid's life, they've never been in any, there's never been any kind of rumours about a kid, a specific kid, being involved in taking drugs, selling drugs, being around people that take drugs, okay? They will bring that element into the story regardless. They won't go, like, even if there's a couple of witnesses that say, you know, I knew that kid and they were clean. They ate clean. They were all about being healthy. They didn't take drugs. They were studious, blah, 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 right? People will pull into that out of nowhere. Well, it was probably drugs, all right? It was probably drugs. They're probably selling them, you know, they probably took too much, or they owed their dealer something and the dealer came and it was the dealer that sorted them out. That's the type of speculation that is problematic, right? Where they just introduce crazy, salacious stories and connect them to the victim. Now, if they were doing this in a private chat on Facebook with their 20,000 followers, it would be absolutely fine. But because they do it on the internet and it encourages and incites other people to think that way, or to have those kinds of ideas, or to consider those kinds of ideas, it just pushes hate. It allows hate to grow, or like a bullying type atmosphere, and it gets targeted at the victims of the crime. That's the problem. That's the problem. The behaviour this that comes from these crazy speculations that have there's no factually linked evidence for them to even surmise what they may be surmising, if you understand what I mean. Say, like, for a conspiracy, you could say, there's been these other things happen, 1, 2, and 3. Now look at 1 and look at 2 and look at 3 and look how shady it is. That would be why I would think there's a conspiracy. Yeah? So you can support your reason why you think that. Not these on the screen. I'm talking generally now about this whole tragedy pimp crew. They don't speculate with common sense, with intelligence, based on evidence or based on fact. And it's that I believe leads to the problems. And it makes it even all the more understandable why Gray Hughes is so finicky and fussy with how you speculate surrounding a case. Because it is terribly damaging. And while you have a freedom of speech, that doesn't mean you need to exercise it 24/7 and purposely say things that you know aren't based on any kind of truth whatsoever. You're just doing it because you can. It's my First Amendment. I'm allowed to say what I want, but that doesn't mean you have to. Okay, that doesn't mean you have to do it online where other people can hear you. That doesn't mean you have to. And it's always the more like narcissistic, awkward people that like to use it's my freedom of speech to say things that usually are derogatory, hateful, nasty, suspicious, fanciful, incredible, and just a load of crass, nasty nonsense. That's it. They're not using their freedom of speech, in quotes, to educate us, to share a fascinating opinion, or to give us some kind of insight. It's always about being hateful. And I can be hateful because I've got a freedom of speech. I mean, what IQ are these people when they're saying that? Like, how, do you know how, God, it just sounds so stupid to me. So because you have a freedom to say whatever you want, you're going to. All right, you're going to. Okay, well then that's your personality, isn't it? That's who you are. That's the type of person you are. Well, just own it then. But this, I don't think it has no place in true crime. I think it's completely fucking up the genre, if I'm honest.
Right? Because they're usually walking to class, because typically I know what lies do they get to. I don't even let my kids.
I'm going to try and find the bits where she actually says something relevant to the case, because she's just going, they're talking all about their private lives here and they're just having fun and laughs, which is completely fine. But I have just come to hear this interview.
Kids, I really want to be sensitive when I'm not going to talk. She said, so what happened to the 4 students is in a different program interning, so she's not on the campus. So she doesn't have a home in Pullman, but when she's in Pullman, she'll either stay at like my daughter's house or another friend's house or the sorority house. So when she's visiting.
Well, it's like a made up fucking name to me, sorry.
Huh?
It's not blue. It's not.
So she said to me, you're very funny. But she said, I said, well, what happened? She said 4 kids. I really want to be sensitive when I'm not going to talk. She said, so what happened to the 4 students? And
Stop starting sentences and then not finishing them.
that she knew about it at around 10 o'clock. I don't think she said that at first. She said, what happened to the kids? And I said, how do you know? And she said, well, my sorority sister. I said, when? And she said, I don't know, like around, 10 or whatever. And I said, well, you didn't say anything. She goes, I don't know. I don't think it registered, honestly, because the horrificness of it, I think, was just not something they could even come.
This is just embellished. I need a new term, but this is just embellished nonsense. This is just embellished nonsense. You can tell with the hesitancy. That I think that's why she keeps stopping and starting these sentences, because when you are lying, you have to pre-edit what you're about to say. And that is difficult because you start to say things, and you'll do it when you're just doing normal conversation like me making a video. Because it's a video, and there's no script, right? I just have to talk, but say it in a way that clearly flows, right? And most of the time, a lot of the time, I don't do that. But you've got to be very quick to know what you're about to say and make sure it makes sense before you're saying it. But the whole time, you're saying it while you're doing that, okay? It's difficult. So when you're lying, so it's difficult anyway when you're doing a video and you're trying to, have say things correctly with no script, all right? It is easier with a script. But when you're lying, there's even more pressure, because for me, I've just got to talk about pretty much just my opinion and how I feel and what I noticed about the video, okay? So there's not much pressure there to, I don't know, make it sound in any, I'm just handling what's in front of me. If you're lying, you've got to keep adding to this story and laying another lie down and laying another lie down and remembering the lies that you said before and laying another lie down. And I think a lot of this, starting these sentences where she decided, no, I'm going to say that, and then she thinks, no, that doesn't sound right, and stops saying it, and then she's like quickly trying to find something else to say, so she'll just dive headfirst into something else. I mean, it's a scrambling mess. I've seen kids aged 6 or 7 lie better than this woman. She is no professional liar. So how come you guys can't see it? She isn't being honest. She's not being honest. And if there are elements of it where there is honesty, it's just her opinion, so it can't not be honest, can it? It can't be dishonest because it's simply her opinion. But in regards to what she says she knows about this case and how she had the information relayed back to her, there's deception here. Absolutely, there's deception. And as it comes to the end, and when Lana gets off panel, you can tell there's something up with this. There's something up. It doesn't pass the lie detector for me. Absolutely
End
not.
of the moment, and they weren't there, and they didn't know them. They only know the person that told them. Well, which is why I felt it was trustworthy, because I do know this young woman, and she's lovely. I mean, she's a great girl.
When she said it so quick?
She was, I don't know. I don't think it registered, honestly, because the horrificness of it, I think, was just not something they could even comprehend in the moment. And they weren't there, and they didn't know them. They only know the person that told them. Well, which is why I felt it was trustworthy, because I do know this young woman, and she's lovely. I mean, she's a great girl. I have nothing bad to say about her. And so,
doesn't matter how many times I rewind sometimes this lady, and slow it down, I just cannot pick up what she's saying at all.
So it was just information she had, but she didn't have a connection to it necessarily. She didn't know what it looked like until then the alert came out, and this is still happening. And I said, well, Peyton, what happened? Like, I said, how do you know that happened? And she said, because there were 2 roommates that...
She's speaking to her daughter here, by the way. All right? She's speaking to her daughter.
Didn't get word heard. Yes?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Her daughter what?
There's over 3,000 people in the live wanting to know, as a worried mother, do you think you're...
Young woman, and she's lovely. I mean, she's a great girl. I have nothing bad to say about her. And so, it was just information she had, but she didn't have a connection to it necessarily. She didn't know what it looked like until then the alert came out, and this is still happening. And I said, well, Peyton, what happened? Like, I said, how do you know that happened? And she said, because there were 2 roommates that didn't get word heard. Yes?
Can you hear me?
Yes. I can hear you.
There's over 3,000 people in the live wanting to know, as a worried mother, do you think your children are safe as a worried mother?
Well, I have a son who just transferred to ASU.
What a time to interrupt her. She's just getting into the flow of the story, and he interrupts her to ask her that.
And I have a daughter who had brain surgery, and she's absolutely fine. Her senior year of high school.
More of the oversharing. So now we can identify this kid, if we are kids at that school, because the mum's called Kim, you've gave away her name, and she had brain surgery. Oh, good job, Kim. Good job.
Am I worried? Yeah, terrified. But she's also a 21-year-old woman with a good head on her shoulders, and I, at some point, have to trust God and stop fighting with her. So, I mean,
Right.
yes, if I had...
You can tell with all the moving around Lana's doing that she's getting frustrated. I think she just wants this lady to kick it off and get on with it.
my choice, she'd be going globally. And that makes me feel better, but that doesn't make her feel better. And so I just have to be a parent to an adult child rather than a parent to like a kindergartner, right? That requires her making decisions for herself in her life. And I have to accept that. I hate that. Everybody knows I hate that because I am bossy. So, but yeah, I don't love it that she's there. I'm terrified for her to be there, but I have to trust her.
Can I ask you a question about the police, like the way that they've ever handled everything? Like, have they ever had any issues with?
So they know me by name.
But like,
The police know her by name, and while everyone's laughing at that and thinking it's a bit of a joke, she does mention that a few times. My issue with that is she does sound like she's a bit of a Karen, right? So what can we deduce from that? Well, she doesn't care about wasting police time. She's on the phone to them a lot and they know her by name. She's not bothered about wasting police time, is she? Why would she be on the phone to them a lot? What the bloody hell is she experiencing that she needs to be on the phone to the police a lot? I mean, you can laugh, they can laugh. I mean, it's awkward, it's an interview. But realistically, how is that just little piece of information that probably goes over everybody's heads is important? She laughs and says, yeah, I'm pretty much on the phone to them every day. They know me by name, right? What does that tell you? There is a person in their house that is ringing the police, so much so that the police can identify her. They know her by name. They know her by... I don't think that's amusing. I don't think that's funny. I don't think that's something to just laugh at and ignore.
Like, have they been always fair? Have there been, like...
Overly fair.
Okay.
Because
Because they're Greek?
Because they're Greek, and yeah, this is so... First, I'll finish really quickly with what happened with the two surviving roommates. I was told, Peyton, I've already said her name 12 times. They were told that the two roommates heard the noise. They saw outside the window. I don't know for sure if it was two people, or I mean, two people in and one outside, or three people in and one outside. That is still confusing to me. I don't know that, right? So
So she saw multiple people.
They heard a noise. Well, how did they hear a noise, Kim? Because you said it was noisy. You said there was a lot of noise. It was noisy. And there was 3 people or 2, one outside watching. But here, apparently, they heard a noise. The 2 surviving roommates heard a noise. We're going to have to go back, guys.
Recognized.
I need my...
They saw outside the window. I don't know for sure if it was two... Yeah.
Because they're Greek?
Because they're Greek, and yeah, this is so... First, I'll finish really quickly with what happened with the two surviving roommates. I was told, Peyton, I've already said her name 12 times. They were told that the 2 roommates heard the noise. They saw outside the window. I don't know for sure if it...
2 roommates, 2, not all 6 of them, 2, heard the noise and looked outside their windows.
2 people, or I mean, 2 people in and one outside, or 3 people in and one...
They knew there was 2 people inside and 3 out, 2 in, possibly 3. How did they know that? How did they see them? Because Bethany's floor's on the ground floor. Dylan's on the... See, it's complicated how you word it over there. For me, the ground floor would be where Bethany was. Okay, the first floor would be where Dylan was. And the second floor would be where... whatever. So, I'm just saying it all mixed up. So, Bethany was on the first floor. Kim, right? Bethany was on the first floor. Dylan was on the second floor. So, I think their rooms, I don't think... Hang on. No, I think Xana's room was above Bethany's. I'm trying to picture this house, right? I think Xana's room was above Bethany's, and Dylan's room, while it was on the same floor as Xana's, it was on the other side of the house. So, what sound did they hear? And where did it come from? Because their windows, who's to say they have the same view? I'm sure they don't have anything like the same view. The way that house is set out, it's crazy.
That is still confusing to me. I don't know what happened with the 2 surviving roommates. I was told, Peyton, I've already said her name 12 times. They were told that the 2 roommates heard the noise. They saw outside the window. I don't know for sure if it was 2 people, or I mean, 2 people in and one outside, or 3 people in and one outside. That is...
Is this before or after they ran to their rooms and locked the doors? Hey? Is this before or after what you said in the video I did? They all ran to their rooms, there was a loud noise, and they all ran to their rooms and locked the door. Well, what were these 2 doing? Because now this sounds like these 2 were together, and they looked out the window, actually. Together.
Still confusing to me. I don't know that, right? So
she saw multiple people.
Multiple people. She recognized the creep, and that is what... So I do believe that the suspect they saw outside the window. I don't know for sure if it was 2 people, or I mean, 2 people in and one outside, or 3 people in and one outside. That is still confusing to me. I don't know that, right? So
she saw multiple people.
Multiple people. She recognized the creep, and that is what... So I do believe that...
Who saw them, though? Which one are you referring to? Who saw them? Because the way you're telling it, it sounds like your daughter saw them. Well, how the bloody hell did your daughter see them? Does she know them? Was she at the house? God.
Suspect they have in custody, I believe from the information I've received that he is indeed guilty. I don't know that they have the evidence to keep him behind bars, but I do believe that he is the one because he was recognized in name. And the police have said we knew who he was immediately.
He was recognized.
That is what. So I do believe that the suspect they have in custody, I believe from the information I've received that he is indeed guilty. I don't know that they have the evidence to keep him behind bars, but I do believe that he is the one because he was recognized in name. And the police have said we knew
Because
who
he
he was
was
immediately.
recognised the
They said-
name. That sentence doesn't make sense. And I've just listened to it for the second time. He was recognised the name. What name? What are you talking about? Why do you guys not ask her questions? The amount of questioning I see Lana do on YouTube about cases, I can't believe she's just letting this fly. I cannot believe she's just letting this woman off the chain, just out the door, off the hook, just free to say all these things and not support them or back them up. There's no clarity.
So that backed up what these kids said. So they locked
Okay,
themselves in.
can I ask you, how do you think that they knew when they say like, because I agree that his name got coughed up, but
Because I was told that. Because my daughter was told that. That's what. And they
because it was like, oh hey, this was who was here partying that night, or
It was the exact verbiage I got was, and this is, there was a guy. He was a creeper. He was there with the other guys. Other guys is all I got with the numbers because I did ask about like how many other guys and where did you see them from? The downstairs window.
Dogs. What?
because it was like, oh hey, this was who was here partying that night, or
It was the exact verbiage I got was, and this is, there was a guy. He was a creeper. He was there with the other guys. Other guys is all I got with the numbers because I did ask about like how many other guys and where did you see them from? The downstairs window.
So
Where
Brian,
Bethany's room is.
I think
And
she's saying Brian is with these other guys that were at the house.
they locked themselves in, and then I said, "And did they call 911?" No, they just locked the door and went to sleep. And I'm like, "Excuse me."
See, again, here we are. You're going to have to stop you there, Kim. They just locked the door and went to sleep. Yesterday you said they were awake. They weren't asleep. That's what you said yesterday in my video to Olivia. They just locked the door and went to sleep. So they heard a noise. They saw these guys, 3 inside and 1 out, and they just went to sleep. And they knew Brian's name got coughed up from somewhere because he was one of the guys. To the people, to my subscribers watching this, look, this is not factual. This is not truthful. This is not something you should be going around believing is part or plays a part in this story. If there is some kind of link between any of the 4 killed, the Idaho 4, and Brian, it's going to come out. If there was any prior interactions or the truth of the stalking, because we've obviously got the pings from his phone and know his car was on cameras and whatnot to prove that he'd been in the area close enough that his phone's internet was touching the house broadband. So he was near that property at some point several times, but obviously that can be explained away. She hasn't given us anything for this not to be explained away, because if Brian was there with 3 other guys or 2 other guys or whomever, why haven't they been arrested for being with him? Or I don't know, because they've let us know in the affidavit who and how many, you know, they've let us know what they were doing prior to it being outed, who was responsible or who was believed to be responsible for this crime. So why would they not include in that John Doe, another John Doe, say like even if they wanted to keep the identity private, has been arrested, or that Brian was working with someone else? Why would the police want to hide that from the public? Why would that be something, I mean, that would be needed to be hidden from the public if Brian had an accomplice or there was other guys there? Why? This story, Kim, you are a liar. And do you know what though? I do want to congratulate you because you managed to get 2 decent sized channels, in my eyes, all right, decent sized channels, to buy into your lies, nonsense, embellishments and bullshit and promote you as though you are a credible witness to this case, and likely so they can monopolize off that also, okay, because clearly that's going to bring in views, subscribers, opinions, lots of traffic, whether it's positive or negative. It all helps channels grow. So congratulations, okay? You managed to dupe true crime experts into believing that you are in some way credible. All right? I'm going to go to the end of this interview because if you want to watch this shite, that she spits out. I had enough with yesterday. I will leave his link below so that you can go and watch it. I'm going to jump to the end of this with how she says bye, and I'm going to quickly run or take a look at, well, in fact, I'll just leave you his link so that you can check out his upload from that I saw this morning, where he's further trying to legitimize Kim by showing these phone records. All right.
They would ever say that.
Right.
Because
And
I
it's like
wouldn't feel that it would be.
Right. And mushrooms grow from campus to campus, right? Mushrooms are a fungus.
So thank you though for having me. And then I'm looking forward to next Friday. It's a double date. So we're here tonight. We're going to be at my channel next Friday. So, but thank you guys so much. And again, thank you, chat. Thank you to all your subs members. Come on over next Friday. Daniel, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
I think this was great. And
Yeah, I want to say thank you to everybody in the live chat. Thank you,
Yes, everybody act like they don't really know each other.
Kim. Thank you, Lana. Big Blue. I'm not sure where he went, but
Well, he's tucked in tight and he should be sleeping.
yeah, I'm pretty sure he's knocked out somewhere. But
All face though, he's allowed.
I want to appreciate everybody in the live chat. Thank you guys so much. This is going to be a wrap. Don't go away, guys. I want to talk to you guys for a little bit further.
all right. Thank you guys so much.
Peace.
All right. Bye, guys.
Okay, so he says bye. Lana bounces down, and then he says to his chat, don't go anywhere because I just want to talk to you. Well, I think that's who he's referencing. And Kim's supposed to drop off, I think. Well, who knows? But let's see.
Okay.
1 sec. It's still.
Did you hear that? Did you hear how she said that? Hey.
I'm not sure where he went, but
Well, he's tucked in tight and he should be sleeping.
yeah, I'm pretty sure he's knocked out somewhere. But
All face though, he's allowed.
I want to appreciate everybody in the live chat. Thank you guys so much. This is going to be a wrap. Don't go away, guys. I want to talk to you guys for a little bit further.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
Peace.
All right. Bye, guys.
Okay.
1 sec.
Right, this portion is where she kind of slips up and she starts talking about JLR, all right, and how wonderful his deep diving work is behind the scenes, because he can pull up, exceptional amounts of information about people linked to any case, all right? That's what he's renowned for. He's an investigator. He calls himself an investigator, and he does do that, whether it's I don't know, lots of people have, I want to keep this objective, but lots of people have negative opinions about the way he goes about doing the things he does. However, this is very strange.
I don't find that to be alarming in any way, shape, or form. What I find alarming is the amount of information she had. And what my son said to me was, the relevant information she has on this crime is disturbing. And why? And he's 20, right? I mean, he's not and he's a baller. So
I was going to say, is he an athlete? He's an athlete?
He's an athlete. So he opted out of Greek. He had an offer from every house. He opted out. He goes, Mom, I think I would die if I ever went to Greek. And I'm like, good then.
Can you see? But there's the subtle bragging that doesn't bypass me. My son was offered a place in every Greek house, and he opted to turn down going with the Greek way, right? I mean, it's just throughout this, it's just for her and how it seems. Like I said in the other one, it's just about fueling ideas of her own self-importance. Look how important I am. Look at all this stuff I know. I am important. It reinforces the idea. Your eagerness to want to hear it reinforces the idea too. These types of personalities, which again this is opinion. It's not fact. It's my opinion. It just reinforces the idea to them with your eagerness to watch and listen that they must be important. So they would believe that delusion then. They believe it because it's being reinforced. It's like when you say they don't matter. Say like when you're arguing with someone on social media and they're toxic or they are narcissistic and you say they're irrelevant, they don't matter, but you keep making videos about them. You reinforce the idea to them that they, yes, indeed do matter, and look at how important they are. Because if they weren't important, there wouldn't be this kind of reaction. And that's the most, going off again on a tangent, but that's the most difficult thing to learn within narcissists and trying to, I don't know another term for it, but I see like lots of people will have found somebody incredibly toxic and they will have a community of people that believe in this person that's toxic. They will believe in their lies and they won't see the manipulation. And you'll have people that will want to call that person out because they can't stand to see what is going on, the manipulation and the lies say, which who could? That would be a normal human reaction. but they end up getting into a battle with this toxic person or narcissistic person, and you will be locked in that battle for life. So what you have to look at is, in 2 years, what will this have achieved? Well, it won't have stopped them. It won't have made people pull away from them. Yes, one or two, right? One or two. But you're always going to find on social media that narcissistic personalities find support. They always find a crowd of people or flying monkeys of people that, for their own reasons, because some will be toxic themselves, some will be narcissistic themselves, some will be completely blind and gullible and not be able to notice that this person's lying to them. So the constant videos and the constant comments about them, all it does is reinforce the idea to them that yes, they are relevant, and yes, they do matter, and yes, they are driving you insane because you can't stop talking about them. And that is part of the key to understanding narcissism. When you really understand narcissism, you don't do those things. You don't get locked into those type of battles, because you know that they're unwinnable by fighting that way. All right. I know it's like people find it hard to let go. Well, I can't stand watching it. Listen to what they're saying. Listen to all the lies they're saying. Blah, 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 blah. Making a couple of videos is enough. You cannot save other people. You're not put on this earth to save other people. It isn't your responsibility for you to be saving other people. It isn't your responsibility to be trying to warn people. It's just not your responsibility at all. And it's a complete, like when you're getting healthy and getting into a more healthier headspace, that would be a total boundary breach. So if you were within your boundaries, like living within your healthy boundaries, constantly attacking or trying to fight narcissistic or toxic people on YouTube, you would have learned the better reaction for your own sense of peace, which should be more important than fighting them, comes before fighting them. Your own sense of peace comes first, rather than putting, I need to warn these people, so I'm going to put myself in a position where I can be hurt, doxed, have my real life affected, simply because I want to save people that haven't told you they want saving. Most of the ones you try and alert to the fact that they're being manipulated don't want to know. They look at you like you're crazy. Trust me, I know. I'm like, when I'm talking about these, I'm speaking about them from an experienced point of view. Like, we're talking years of doing unhealthy things. I didn't just do it once. I have learnt the long lesson. That's why I'm so eager and passionate about just having these kinds of conversations and talking about narcissism, because I have wasted nearly 4 decades trying to fix, heal, help, keep comfortable other people. It's not my job. It's nobody else's job to do that for other people either. You have to let people learn for themselves. And oftentimes the mind, right, telling the mind something, as you'll know in real life, sometimes you have to do it to either understand it or to learn how not to do it. Okay, so when you're just trying to ram this information down people on the internet, ram this information down their throats, that person over there is toxic, that person over there is toxic, and you've got an expectation that they're going to listen to you and move away from that person, this is just not healthy. It's in no way, shape or form, and people don't like hearing it, right? They want to take the narcissist down. They want the narcissist to have revenge. They want the narcissist to have their vengeance and feel the freaking fire that they've got burning for them. But the only person that you end up burning out is yourself, because if you do understand the narcissist, then you will know that the more you engage them, you actually make them become worse, because the more you keep pushing them, well, you trying to confront them and forcing them to be accountable, we already know that they've got a disorder, a thinking disorder. So they can't be accountable. It doesn't matter how much evidence you show. It doesn't matter if God himself comes down and gives them a whole big book of everything that they've done wrong that they need to be accountable for. The narcissist can't be accountable. Think Darrell Brooks. That's the type of brain you're working with and trying to be reasonable with and trying to what? Teach not to be toxic. That's the lunacy of us when we're doing those things. That was the lunacy of me when I had that kind of mindset. oh, he's got a new partner. He's going to abuse her. He's going to do the same things he did to her. He did to me. He's going to do them to her, right? And oftentimes when you just come into that awakening of what you've got away from and you realise there was someone else, you think, holy shit, well, I wish somebody had told me this sooner. And you'll want to tell the new girlfriend or the new boyfriend of the narcissist all about the crazy person they're actually with. The only person that ends up looking crazy is you, not them, okay? Things have to sometimes pass through a course of time, and they have to follow their natural order of things. People have to be allowed to wake up to things on their own. People have to be allowed to have that choice to decide, do they want to stick around, do they not, right? People have the choice to not want to be involved in any of that kind of fuckery, because I avoid it like the plague now. When I first came to YouTube, I'd see it all over, and I'd be in chats a lot more and stuff like that. But like, I've learnt my lesson. It doesn't, like, calling the behaviour out without calling the person out is like kind of a better or a healthier way of doing it, because you're not engaging them or trying to have a fight with them or wind them up or piss them off. I mean, that's the last thing you want to do. If there are narcissistic, if you believe there are narcissistic people around you on YouTube, the smart thing to do is treat them as though you don't know. Treat them as though you've no idea, okay? Keep your boundaries. That's where they're not going to be able to take advantage of you, because you've got your boundaries, right? So if they start trying to milk you for money or telling you sob stories, you've got your boundaries intact. They're not going to break through those boundaries, because you're going to give them realistic and healthy advice instead of taking on their emotional burdens and feeling responsible as though you have to fix their problems, right? So you're going to have sorted all that out from the inside out. But fucking around with those kinds of personalities, it gets you nowhere in the long run. Nowhere. Take it from one that spent almost 4 decades doing all the wrong things. All the wrong things. Don't waste your life and your time. There are more beautiful things to be doing, even if it's just sitting outside and enjoying the nature or enjoying a moment of the day. There are much more healthier things to do and look at than trying to warn people that is a narcissist, they are toxic. And do you know like being engaged in that hardcore fight anyway, right? We've gone off on a tangent, but let's listen to where Kim drops herself in it and starts talking about JLR.
Go. And they frown upon that at Wazoo. Athletes can go to Greek parties because, they're not allowed to be athletes. Right, because you're athletes, right? Because you're an athlete, lady. That's right. And
You get invited to everything.
You know what? More power to you, right? The best of the best you are.
Yeah.
Great.
And the constant sucking up, I mean, it's just all there. It's evident.
That's the truth, though. Like, that's the truth.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I bounced back from every baby because I was
They wanted to come to every party we threw, and
right.
they were like, you guys can come anytime. And I'm like, okay.
So,
you're a good time,
Kim,
Charlie, but you're not embarrassing anybody or yourself.
Yeah.
Kim, we have a question from our chat. Some folks are wondering, did you mention that there was 2 cars at one point outside, or?
So I believe.
But you don't have anything
Well,
concrete
there's
about
pictures
it.
of that car on Greek Girl, yeah. You are.
Okay.
And I don't know why they're not sharing that name, but they all know whose car it was.
Thank you, Mark.
Some folks are wondering, did you mention that there was 2 cars at one point outside, or?
So my belief is that there's 2 cars. That's what I believe. I believe.
But you don't have anything
Well,
concrete
there's
about
pictures
it.
of that car on Greek Girl, yeah. You are.
Okay.
I can't understand.
I don't know why they're not sharing that name, but they all know whose car it was.
Thank you, Mark.
Right, watch this
Right,
bit now.
so-
Watch the faces.
Oh,
I agree.
You can say whatever you want about JLR. I don't care. He owns his shit. He did his time. He did his time. He is. If you want somebody to dig something up, check like
He'll find it.
Oh my! Like, honest to God, it's too bad he went to prison and he can't get a legit job because he's a felon. Because he's brilliant. I'm thinking to myself, how did you find that? I'll shoot him something and he'll find it, and it'll pop up.
You'll shoot him something and he'll find it. This is hilarious. You'll shoot him something and he'll find it. Oh, so you know JLR and you're on good enough terms with him that whenever you shoot him something, he will find it. So what the hell things are you giving him to shoot and look up behind the scenes? This is insane. And again, nobody, right? They all know him too. They all know each other, these lot behind the scenes. Okay, this would make more sense as to where this Kim's come from. She can't keep her face straight. It's like Duper's delight. She can't, he's blushing, right? His face goes a funny shade of pink. He's just pinned there. I think he ended up taking a drink to hide his awkwardness.
And I shoot to you. Check like.
I'll find it.
Oh my! Like, honest to God, it's too bad he went to prison and he can't get a legit.
She knows everything.
But they all know whose car it was.
Thank you, Mark.
Right? So You know,
Oh, I agree.
you can say whatever you want about JLR. I don't care. He owns his shit.
Face.
He did his time. He did his time. He is. If you want somebody to dig something up, check like
I'll find it.
Oh my! Like, honest to God, it's too bad he went to prison and he can't get it. Like,
People tend to wear shades and caps online, and you'll call me crazy, right? Not everybody, obviously, but it's an extra layer. Like this, for example, okay? When some fuck up happens, you've got an extra layer to cover it up or to skip over it. I don't know how to explain it better, but I have said in a couple of my older videos, I don't trust dudes in caps and shades presenting to me anything on YouTube. I don't know why. It sounds hilarious and it sounds totally crazy. I don't trust them. Every experience I've had with a dude on the internet in a cap and shades, I'm going to start naming people, but they've been on the shady side, and they've been using the glasses and the image of the glasses and the cap to hide. Like this now, she's got a layer. You can't see their eyes. You can't see. They're hiding what would be like micro expressions. It's not just done to be cool and casual. No way. It's an element for me of concealing possible micro expressions. I mean, his face doesn't change. His cheeks do appear to go a little bit pinker. She can't stop smiling because they've just been rumbled. They're all in touch with each other behind the scenes, clearly, because the way she words it, well, anything you shoot at him, he'll find it. Well, what? What do you mean? Anything. So you must have been shooting him a lot then of various things, because whatever it was, he can just find it. This is, I won't be surprised if that's how she's come to be involved and that's who found her. I would not be surprised.
Because he's brilliant. I'm thinking to myself, how did you find that?
Look,
I'll shoot him something and he'll find it. And it'll pop up. And I shoot to you all the time, right? All of you guys. But I shoot with discretion.
The eyes, when you're lying, you see, this is another thing with the shades. The eyes, when you're lying, give away a lot, right? They give away a lot. For example, somebody lying tends to blink a lot more than they would be normally if they were just having a conversation. People that are being deceptive, or they're seriously hyper-focused on giving you an account that's complete lies, they will blink less, all right? And they'll be watching for you if you're looking like you're believing this bullshit, all right? So when they're wearing their shades and their caps, it's not, for me, that's why I just find it duplicitous for most of the people that I see doing it. No offense if you are not one of those types of people, right? I love some shades and my cap on. Don't get me wrong. But for on here, it provides a layer of concealment. It hides what would be micro expressions, because lots of things happen around the eyes when we're talking, when we're lying, and when we're being truthful, okay? Lots of little micro expressions occur when we're hearing lies, or we're, listening to someone that we believe is telling the truth. Like, he's learned to just keep this stern face on. He just keeps this, he has no reaction to what she's saying by his face, which tells me there is a reaction, because I mean, you can even see Big Blue in the corner. He's like, what the fuck? And Lana, you can tell with her face that, well, she's just gone clearly off script. I mean, look at the awkwardness. She can't stop grinning. There's Duper's delight there, because there's deception involved, and she's just outed it and she can't fucking believe it. That's what's going on. That is what is going on. Absolute lies. Just lies. And you know what? I'll round it up here. It's gone on for nearly 2 hours. I do want you to watch his content. I don't want to be sharing, too much of somebody's, in quotes, hard work. Visit the channel, subscribe to the channel. I don't want you to be bullying or harassing or bothering anybody mentioned in this video. That's not the point. I think I can say can I just say everything's opinion? I think, yeah. So everything that I've spoken about in here is opinion. It's not fact. I encourage everybody to do their own research and look into things. Be critical, be objective. You can disagree in the comments. You don't have to agree. I'm happy to have like a friendly debate, or if you just want to leave your opinion that disagrees, that's fine too. when I asked you yesterday in the video to please leave a like, it helped, because that video, I think it's got like 350 views. I'm happy with that. I don't want it to be 1,500 or whatever. I'm happy with that. I feel like a reasonable amount of the people that I know come by and chit chat, or that may watch and they don't really want to talk, I feel like those types of people would have seen it. I half wish you could just dump some of your subscribers, because I had like nearly 500 sub to me before I ever made a channel, and then because that was over a few years, I'd acquired those that were just subbing to me because of the comments I was leaving. Those older subscribers from even before that, from the survivor community, the knock abuse survivor community, I wasn't making content then. I've only been making content a couple of years, so I think loads of your subscribers that just sub you, the older ones, never get the notifications. Never. That's what it seems like to me, because they've now brought out a little thing in your analytics and it tells you notifications. Do you know how many it said to me that had gone out? It said something like, what, between 15, 16 or 17 notifications. I'm just like, what the fuck? What is up with YouTube? Anyway, I really appreciate it, because I noticed the difference with just you guys liking the video. It must, I don't know how it works. I've no idea. But if you could leave a like or a dislike, obviously, share your thoughts, leave a comment. If you're happy to share it to Twitter or something like that, that's great too, but you obviously don't have to. Thanks so much for watching. Go and check that channel out. Go and check out the interview. See what you think for yourself. Go and listen to Kim. And I'll catch you in the next one. Love lots and bye for now.